All right. What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Brandon Strange. That's Josh Jordan. Welcome into the Sports Map post-game ALCS Game 4 breakdown. Josh, the Astros are going to the World Series again, 4 times in 6 years, consecutive years back-to-back. They sweep the Yankees, strike them out 50 times in the series. What an unbelievable show of dominance for the Astros, a show of resiliency in this game. To say the least, back and forth. This team never gives up. We're going to do an inning-by-inning breakdown of the game for those who are familiar with the show. If you're not familiar with the show, we'll just sit back and, we're going to talk some Astros baseball with you. Josh, what's your reaction to the Astros sweeping the Yankees?
It was so sweet, man. I mean, to get to sweep the Yankees and win like that, and they had hope, tonight. It looked like it may go the Yankees' way there for a while, but no. I mean, they got the big hits when they needed them. The critical error that haunted the Yankees, and error cost them the game yesterday.
Yep.
And Bregman and Pena, dude, and Jordan's starting to get going again. So, and what else can you say? They're going back to the World Series. They swept the Yankees. That umpire once again tonight, anything that was close was being called for the Yankees. Astros weren't getting any calls. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it, but it didn't matter. So for the Astros to win and sweep, even with the calls going against them, what else can you say? Incredible.
Well, that's why blaming it on the umps is always loser talk, because as bad as those calls were, the Astros just took things into their own hands and made things happen. Sometimes they took things into their own hands and made things not happen. We'll get to that a little later on as well, but Jeremy Pena gets named ALCS MVP. I don't even know if there's anything else we can say about this kid that we haven't already said before, but dude is just a monster. He's clearly not scared of the postseason. Astros dig themselves in a hole early, and he's just, with one swing of the bat, gets it all back. I don't even know. Like, we talk about losing a generational shortstop in Carlos Correa. And then for the Astros just to be able to plug and play Jeremy Pena, and then you wonder, okay, well, that's the regular season. What's going to happen in the postseason? And then what happens? Oh, nothing, just ALCS MVP. And the Astros are 7-0 going into the World Series to face a team who I hope they don't take lightly. The Phillies look like they're every bit as hot as the Astros do right now, but the Astros were just suffocating with their pitching staff. I mean, it just seemed like, and we'll get into it, but this turned out to be a not as much of a pitcher's duel as it was a bullpen game for the Yankees, because Cortez goes out early, which we will get to. Guys, go ahead and send in your comments. We're going to feature comments on the screen. Forgive me, my voice is not great. I've been dealing with some allergies all day long, so we're going to try to make it, but I will push through if you can push through, and we're going to talk some Astros baseball with you. But we are celebrating because the Astros have swept the New York Yankees. They're going back to the World Series again. And man, when this matchup happened, and when it became evident that this was going to be another rematch of Astros Yankees in the ALCS, on paper, it really looked like Astros had the advantage, but you just never know how the baseball bounces, and you just never know what variables can play a factor. Today, it was the weather. The game gets pushed back a little bit, and we wondered, would that be a bad omen for the game? Because you've got, you saw what happened in the Guardian series. You had the rain that pushes the game, but then it kind of realigns the pitching schedule. So you wondered, okay, well, what's going to happen? Did you feel any bad juju coming off of a reschedule, or I guess a postponed or delayed game there?
I did. McCullers is just, such a creature of habit. So I knew that probably threw him off a little bit, and he was okay, but he wasn't lights out like he was against the Mariners, but he was pitching with those shadows for a lot of that game too. Yeah. But when we needed McCullers to get some big innings, he came up with the outs. He kept him in the game, and yeah, he dealt with having to have it pushed back and having to wait around. And how, he's a pretty intense guy, and just having to wait around to pitch, I'm sure that was a challenge for him. But I mean, what else can you say, man? Who else would you want going into New York than Lance McCullers? He's done it before. He did it today. They win another pennant.
They do win another pennant. So let's go ahead and get into our inning by inning breakdown here. We had Lance McCullers versus Nestor Cortes. Cortes would not make it through this game. Before we get into that, there were some roster changes. Astros go with Maldi at the catcher position. Yanks go back to Bader in the leadoff spot. Kiner Falefa is back at short. Boy, does that decision come back to haunt them. We've been talking about how Kiner Falefa was a very polarizing figure at short, and they've had 3 different shortstops in this series. They go back to Kiner Falefa, and man, we'll get to it, but that does bite them in the butt. So let's get to it. Top of the first, Astros come out with some good patient ABs, put 21 pitches on Cortes early. Altuve strikes out looking on ball 4.
That's in my notes too.
Pena gets a good at bat, hits a single through the left side. Jordan pops up to left, second out. Breggy pops up on the first pitch, strands Pena at first for the third out. But yeah, those calls early were kind of an indication of what was to come in this ball game. The Astros pitchers were going to have to overcome some, I should say the Astros hitters were going to have to overcome some generous calls and a generous strike zone from the home plate umpire. Bottom of the first, McCullers into the game. He's struggling to throw strikes at the Yankees. Bader gets a leadoff single. Judge pops out to right on the first pitch. Rizzo's leaning in again, gets hit by pitch on the knee. I mean, this is all this dude does is just lean in and get hit. So men on first and second, and then Stanton gets ahead of Lance and serves a 3-1 single into right center. Bader scores. It's 1-0 Yankees at that point. Glaber pops up to center. Chaz and Tuck watch the ball fall in front of them there. And then Rizzo scores. That makes it 2-0. Then McCullers comes back, gets Donaldson swinging, gets Cabrera to pop out, strands Stanton and Torres for the third out. What did you think of McCullers in that first?
He wasn't bad. A little bit of bad luck. I mean, Bader's single was a good one, but the other one was just kind of a bloop into center field. It wasn't hard contact or anything like that. So, and then he got out of the inning, 2-0. You can deal with that. They weren't hitting him that hard. It's just unfortunate. And, it was unlucky too for the hit by pitch there on Rizzo. Like you said, a guy stands on top of the plate and, it got him. Was it in the knee?
Yeah, it grazed the knee.
Just grazed his knee. If you're going to get hit in the knee with the baseball, that's how you want to do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And he clearly was in the business of getting hit by a baseball because he was hugging the plate, which Maldi would copy a little later on in the game, which was interesting. Not to the same result, though. So then we go to the top of the second. Astros, again, showing patience at the plate. They put another 19 pitches on Nestor in this inning. Tucker draws a walk. Yuli pops out on the first pitch. Mancini, a soft liner to second, and they get Chaz swinging for the third out. Bottom of the second, McCullers, not having his best stuff, but the umps also squeezing McCullers here.
Yes.
Kiner Falefa hits a double, and to me, that was a bad omen there. I was like, oh boy, if IKF is hitting, then this is going to be a long night for the Stros. Trevino pops up behind the plate to Maldi for the first out. Bader, a broken bat liner to short, second out. Judge draws the walk, and then Rizzo, RBI double to left, scores Kiner Falefa, and then Stanton strikes out swinging for the third out there. What did you see from McCullers in that inning, or the bottom of that inning?
Yeah, I mean, he gave up he got tagged with some fastballs, but he also got some ground balls. I don't mind, walking Judge there. It's better than what could happen, ultimately. But, getting the strikeout of Stanton was pretty big there because, Stanton had already gotten a hit earlier in the game, right? And he's been kind of the main guy that has been, getting some extra base hits. He's usually good for about one a game. So I'm just glad, that they kept it close. But I got to tell you, I was starting to be like, man, maybe this just isn't their night. Because I figured the Astros were going to win the series, but I wasn't expecting a sweep.
Yeah.
And with today with the rain delay thing, I just, I didn't have a great vibe with them pushing it back.
No, but this has been a weird postseason, though.
Yeah.
Like, it really just has been a really strange postseason because of the scheduling, and especially the Yankees and their weather issues. And I just hated the idea that the game was going to get delayed or might even be moved because of weather things, because I just feel like that can really change. I don't know, just like, you give New York a little bit more time to think about it and kind of sit and kind of study the Astros. And I just didn't like the idea of that, but fortunate for them, that didn't really come to fruition here. But so now that we're in the top of the third here,
Yeah,
and
3-0 Yankees.
yeah, it's 3-0 Yankees at this point, top of the third. Maldi draws a walk. Boone comes out, checks on Nestor. This was our first sign here that something may have been going on with Nestor Cortez. So yeah. Boone comes out, checks on him. Nestor says, "No, I'm fine." And so then Altuve draws a walk. So now you got men on first and second. Trevino comes out. He's checking on Nestor, like, "Are you sure, bro? Like, if you're not sure, you need to let us know." And then Nestor tries to play through it. Pena turns on one and puts the Astros up 3-0. He just absolutely barreled one to left, and it was a no-doubter second deck shot.
Yeah, I think it was maybe one of those cutters, or maybe it was a little slider or something. He threw the pitch twice, and then the second one he left out over the plate, and Pena blasted it.
Yeah, and that's one thing we can really say about Pena in this postseason, that he's shown that he can hit that breaking pitch that's left up. He can hit a mistake like that. He's not just a guy who's fastball hunting, and that's tremendous, because to be that young, to be a rookie, and to have the experience level he does, and to be able to count on that guy to, if you throw a mistake over the plate, he can punish you for it. That's one thing that the Yankees in this series could not do. When the Astros left something over the plate, very rarely were they able to do anything with it.
True. No, that was huge for Pena right there. For him to already be an ALCS MVP as a rookie, I mean, that's
so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, it's so stupid to say that this team has an embarrassment of riches, and for Pena to first year filling in the shoes of Carlos Correa, all of the question marks about whether Jim Crane, the owner, was cheap, and for Jeremy Pena to reward them with this kind of production, the ALCS MVP in his first season is really, really amazing. So after that happens, though, it's clear that there's something wrong with Nestor. They go and get him, and we find out later it's a groin injury, and so they lift him for Wandy Peralta.
Yep.
Jordan doubles to right, and then Bregman hits a long fly to right. Jordan doesn't advance.
Should have tagged, I think.
Like, what? Like you're not, like, I just don't even understand what happened on that play. But yeah, Jordan doesn't tag there. But it turns out it doesn't matter. Tucker drives a single up the middle, hits Peralta in the hand, and now you've got men on first and third. So now Jordan's at third, Tucker's at first there. And then the most baseball, of course, here's baseball, is you have a funky play like that, where you're not able to make a play. You've got first and third, and here's Yuli Gurriel, RBI single the other way. This is when Yuli's going well, is when he can take pitches and not do too much with them, just serve them the other way. Jordan scores, puts the Astros up 4-3.
That was big. And the other thing was they were shifted there on Yuli. So there was a massive hole to the right side. He just had to poke it through, just hit it in that direction. And it's funny, after he did that, his later at bats in the game, they didn't line up that way anymore.
It was clear in this game that two guys were really locked in, and it was Pena, I think you could say that too. But I was going to say Bregman really looked locked in on his at bats, and man, you really look at Yuli and kind of how he can just serve it the other way when he's going well. Bregman was going well tonight. We'll get a little bit more of that later. Mancini flies out. McCormick, the soft liner. That's the last 2 outs of the inning. We go to the bottom of the third. Gleyber Torres with a leadoff single to center. There's a missed pickoff attempt at first. And then McCullers gets Donaldson looking for the first out. Torres advances on a wild pitch. Cabrera grounds to second. Torres goes to third for the second out, and then they get IKF swinging, stranding Torres at third. So I thought that was really big for McCullers to be able to strand Gleyber at third.
Yes, and that's huge momentum right there because, when you're in the spot like that, you want to come back with that momentum. After your team gets you some runs, you want to go put up a 0. Even Roger Clemens talked about that with John and Lance on the bench on the morning show. Like, that's your job as a pitcher, is to go out there and shut the door that next inning. And it didn't start off great because he gave off that leadoff single, but he worked around it. Great job, McCullers.
Yeah. So we go to the top of the fourth, and it's pretty uneventful. Maldi grounds out, Altuve grounds out, and Pena strikes out looking. It's an awful call.
He strikes out looking at a ball.
Yeah. Strikeout looking on a call that was 4 inches below the plate.
At least. You should see the graphics of where those pitches were on the MLB app. I mean, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous. Again, this was a theme throughout the night. The Astros were going to have to win this. They were not going to get calls. Yeah. And that's why when people talk about blaming the umps for things, that's loser talk, because when you have a really good team, they can take advantage of those types of opportunities there in spite of some really bad calls. And so you saw that. So yeah, that was a really awful call. So that takes us to the bottom of the fourth here. And Trevino grounds out, first out. Bader singles to center. Man, this dude is just red hot. He's just red hot. He's the saving grace of the Yankees in this series because no one else can put bat to ball. Judge hammers one to center. Chaz makes a great play on it for the second out. But this was, Judge was getting a hold of some early, and it seemed like either the wind or he just wasn't hitting him in the right direction. But that ends up being the second out.
McCullers went down to a knee. He thought it was gone.
Yeah. Bader advances on a pass ball by Maldi. And of course, what happens whenever one of these quirky plays happens, somebody's going to score on it. So Rizzo with the RBI single up the middle and Bader scores. So here we go. It's always when a ball gets away from him or there's some kind of weird thing on the base path, you can almost bet on it. It's almost a sure thing that run's going to come around to score. And that definitely happened there.
And what bothered me, the other part of that inning, didn't Maldi like 4 or 5 balls popped out of his glove? Even pitches McCullers was trying to get some strikes on. Maldi was just having a tough time just catching the ball.
No, he was. It was definitely evident that he was. And we see this from Maldi every once in a while. Like during the season, he'll have some of these games where he just gets crossed up or just, is not able to read the ball well. But so the Yankees tie that with that Rizzo RBI single. It's 4-4 at that point.
Yeah. Didn't love that approach on Rizzo right there by McCullers. Thought, I felt like it was he kind of made it easy on him because Rizzo, he was kind of letting I'm just going to slap it the other way. And if I remember correctly, I think McCullers just gave him a fastball outside and he just, went with it. Would have liked to seen a different mix there, but ultimately it didn't really matter.
Stanton grounds out to second after that. And McCullers ends the inning. He's got 79 pitches through 4. So it's one of the things we talk about with McCullers is he's not always the most efficient. And I want to bring this one up. Tony says, where's John Gennaro asleep? Probably. Probably.
Lazy.
But they also have a very early show in the morning. I mean, it's the crack of 7.
Yes.
So, don't blame those guys. So, okay. So we're tied at this point going into the top of the 5th. And this was, I think, kind of an inning of missed opportunities. Jordan just misses a homer. He pulls it just foul, ends up drawing the walk. And so Peralta gets lifted for Jonathan Loaizaga. And I freaking hate this guy. This dude is so freaking nasty. Dude, he just came in and just looked filthy. So he gets Bregman lines back up the middle, hits Loizaga, ends up being a double play or double play to first and or to
That was a bad omen, I thought
yeah.
at the time, right? Like I was like, oh, the ball's bouncing their way tonight.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but again, there was a confluence of these things, Josh, where it was like the game getting pushed back and then the strike zone being really favorable for the Yankees. And then these weird balls, like kind of hitting off of stuff. So, yeah, so you had that weird exchange where, it hits Loizaga and it ends up turning into a double play. And then Tucker with the soft dribbler back to the pitcher. And that's the third out. So, you went from almost having a home run with Jordan to it just turning into a walk. And then Bregman hitting a sharp laser up the middle that Loizaga is able to, kick down with his foot that turns into a double play. Should have been a single. And, he made a heads up move and kicked it. And sometimes that works against you. Sometimes you kick it the wrong direction and your fielder doesn't get it. In this case, it turned out to be the right move and they turned it into a double play. So it really seemed like if you wanted to compound those bad juju feelings, that was definitely part of it. So then that takes us to the bottom of the fifth. McCullers comes back out and it looks like he's got kind of a tired arm and it's working to his benefit here because it looks like he's able to really control better now. He gets Gleyber Torres looking on a paint job inside for the first out. He gets Donaldson to pop out high to short for the second out, and then gets Cabrera looking with a filthy slider for the third out. So Lance's night's done after this. He's 5 innings, 8 hits, 6 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, 100 pitches, and 65 of those were strikes. So I'd say that's a good ratio you'd like. What did you think overall of Lance McCullers' night?
I thought he was good. I mean, good, not great. I mean, through the 4th inning when he'd already given up 4, he was sitting at a 9 ERA basically. So that's not ideal. But this was a weird game to what you were saying. So as long as he was keeping them in it, he was minimizing the damage. There was opportunities where the Yankees could have blown the game open, but McCullers did a great job of focusing in and getting out of some trouble. So, and I knew that was going to be it for him. He was approaching 100 pitches. So, you're not going to push it with McCullers, and, they're going to go to the bullpen after that. But it was great to see him strike 2 out of the 3 guys in the 5th inning, and it made a little statement there. Way to go,
Yeah.
Lance.
No, I think so too. I was really happy for him to be able to come in and do what he did there. I think, Lance is a guy who pitches a lot off of adrenaline, but I think sometimes that works against him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think kind of the combination of the amount of innings pitched and him having been settled in. So maybe he wasn't as amped up and he was really able to place those pitches, his breaking balls where he needed to. And he relied on that a lot tonight. He relied on his breaking stuff to get over for strikes, and it worked for him.
A lot of changeups to Aaron Judge. I think at one point he threw him like 3 in a row.
They clearly had a plan with him, and clearly it worked because that dude's bat was silent for the entire series.
Pretty much the whole series. I will say this one note before we finish up that inning. You could tell McCullers was getting frustrated by the calls behind the plate.
Sure, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so that takes us to the top of the 6th. Loizaga returns. He's still filthy.
Man, Louisville Slugger hates that guy. How many bats did he break tonight?
Yeah, dude, the dude was just throwing chainsaws into hitters, just sawing them off. He was also getting a generous zone too, but his stuff was filthy. He didn't even need it. He just was sawing off bats, as you talked to. Yuli grounds out softly to short. Mancini grounds out to the pitcher. I think both of those those guys had their bats cut off at the handle, and then McCormick soft grounder. So Loizaga just comes in there, tosses a gem, man. Like, that guy is really one of the few Yankees pitchers that I really hated seeing come out of their bullpen, because that dude was filthy every time. So then we go to the bottom of the 6th here, and we've got a pitching change. Hector Neris replaces McCullers. He gets IFK to pop up to shallow right for the first out. Gets a couple quick outs here. Gets Trevino to pop out on the infield here. But then Harrison Bader, this freaking guy, man, he's just on a heater right now. He gets a hold of one, hits a hanging sinker, I think, for a home run, and that puts Yankees up 5-4. And then he gets judged looking. So it was just that one. He made one mistake, and Bader made him pay for it. And otherwise, he has a really efficient inning. But it's just, you hang one to one, the wrong guy, and he was the wrong guy on that lineup. He's the one guy who's actually been able to competently hit during this series. Him and I think Stanton are the two guys who were the ones who actually sent fear, into me while I was watching them.
Yeah, a little bit of Rizzo.
A little bit of Rizzo stuff.
A little bit of Rizzo mixed in, but this was one of those. My big takeaway is that got the crowd back into it. You know, like you were really like, "Oh, this is not good."
Yeah, no, it wasn't. But then the Astros just said, "Yeah, okay," but we have the answer because Loizaga returns. And what I had in my notes at this point was, at least if there's a game 5, we don't have to see this guy again because of the amount of pitches that they're putting on him. And that just was kind of the theme, was you got into their bullpen because of the short appearance by Cortez. And so you're getting into the heart of their bullpen earlier, and they were bringing out guys trying to hold leads or at least keep it close. And so they were really burning a lot of effort from Loizaga, who's one of their better arms out of the pen. And so Maldi leads off. I wondered if Vasquez wouldn't be subbed there, but we didn't see it just because they were down a run and it was late in the game. You're in the top of the 7th. You're down a run. I thought, okay, well, maybe we'll see Christian Vasquez pinch hit for Maldi here. But nope, catches Maldi looking on a strikeout. Altuve with a broken bat single. It's called safe on the field, and then it's reviewed. This was about as close as a call as you'll ever see. And I think there just wasn't enough evidence to overturn, to the chagrin of the TBS broadcast, who really wanted that to be overturned, I think.
So bad.
Just so bad wanted that to be overturned. But as far as replay calls go, that was about as close as it gets. I do think they made the right call and that it's standing, because I can't tell one way or the other. I think there's, from different angles, you could make a case for either.
Yep, but tie goes to the runner. So.
Tie goes to the runner. I don't think that's a real rule, but in this case it is. I think in this case it's tie goes to whatever call is called on the field, and what was called on the field was safe. And this is part of that bad juju that you feel during this game. This was such a weird game. So this was another one of those strange Altuve things where, is it a homer? Is it not? Is he safe? Is he not? It went their way this time. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe this isn't one of those, games that you look back on and say everything didn't break their way. So, and then sure enough, you have Pena grounding into what should have been a double play here. And then Torres fields it, tosses it to Kiner Falefa, who whiffs on the exchange, just whiffs. And now you've got guys on second and third now. It should have been a double play. And now you've got guys on, first and second.
First and second, yeah.
Yeah, first and second at this point. And then, of course, because it's baseball and you have a weird exchange on the base path, then Yordan RBI single to right, scores Altuve. They come back and tie the game. What did you think of that play there?
Death, taxes, and you are going to pay if you make an error in a game like this. Like, you're going to give up a hit, and it happened. It's been happening the whole series. You make a mistake like that, it's come back to bite everybody in the ass. What a crazy turn of events right there. But the thing I was happy about was Yordan looks like maybe he's starting to get going. Couple hits in this game. That's huge. Altuve scores. And basically this leads to a pitching change, right? Holmes comes in after this.
That's right. So we get Clay Holmes, who, this guy is also pretty filthy too. And I don't enjoy seeing this guy come out of the bullpen for him. And so Clay Holmes comes in. Bregman greets him with an RBI single to right, making it 6-5. And Bregman just had a very professional at bat here. which was just did not try to do too much with it and took a ball the other way. And, you know, I can't even say a younger version of Bregman, because when we saw Bregman in 2017 in the World Series, he did the same sort of play where he just doesn't try to do too much, just tries to serve it back the other way. And just a professional at bat, not trying to do too much. And what can you say about Alex Bregman except for he's back?
Yeah, I mean,
where would you be without him?
Well, nowhere. I mean, he's been just kind of steady, where so many of our other guys are so up and down. It's all or nothing with a lot of our lineup, but Breggy's been steady. You don't see him swinging at 3 sliders in a row outside of the zone, stuff like that. Breggy he's just got such a great eye, great hitter. And, he really kind of got a little choked up in the post game when they were interviewing him, and he was just so excited about what they've accomplished. And the other thing that I noticed too, a lot of Astros fans in the stands tonight.
Yeah,
a lot more than I noticed in the other games.
Jim Crane gave him a shout out too in the post game when they were doing the award ceremony, and they let Jim Crane talk, and he gave a shout out to the Astros fans who traveled, and they were sizable, they were loud. Of course, the game was even easier to attend because resale ticket prices had dropped into the $30 range prior to this game. So I don't want to hear anything about how the Yankees have the best fan anymore, considering that in Game 3, Yankees fans are hitting the exits in the 6th inning. And then in Game 4, you're trying to stave off elimination here, trying to stave off the sweep, and you're just giving your tickets away for $30. And you know how expensive those tickets are. And for people to
in New York
be selling $30 on the secondary market is wild. I just don't want to hear anything about how Yankees fans are this amazing fan base. Like, get out of here.
And the boos for Aaron Judge, and even Garrett Cole heard some boos when he got taken. Yeah. Just like, these guys are the reason you're in the ALCS, and you're going to boo them.
Aaron Judge is the only reason that you even were able to right the ship and get back and get back into your winning ways in the last 2 months of the season. He is going to be the MVP, no doubt. And yeah, you're booing him. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. So RBI single from Bregman. Tucker gets a dribble up the line that basically serves as a bunt, advances the runners to second and third, and Yuli just grounds out to third to end the inning. I really had hoped Yuli would have been able to tack on some insurance in the top of that inning, but it was not to be. That takes us to the bottom of the 7th.
Astros up 6-5.
Yeah, that takes us to the bottom of the 7th. Up 1, Brian Abreu, who replaces Hector Neris.
Nasty.
Yeah, dude only needed 8 pitches to get through the inning. He gets Rizzo to ground into the shift. A great defensive play by Jeremy Pena, spinning, fields it, throws to first. Beautiful play by Jeremy Pena. Yeah, just this guy's all over the place, whether it's defense or on offense, making major hits. Abreu gets Stanton to fly out to Tucker running. Tucker makes a really good play on a ball that seems to be slicing away from him and right, and is able to make a good play on it, and then gets Gleyber Torres to strike out swinging for the 3rd out. Abreu, 8 pitches, 7 strikes. Is that good?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
No complaints.
No, for sure. That takes us to the top of the 8th. Clay Holmes returns, and the bullpens are getting work here. So again, it goes back to the thing that we talked about a little earlier, which is, I thought, if nothing else, the victory here tonight for the Astros is going to be they don't have to face Loizaga again, and they don't have to face Holmes again. So you are really taxing the bullpen here. So there was going to be a victory even if there wasn't an actual victory. So you get Holmes returns, you get Mancini, gets carved up, strikes out swinging. McCormick, soft fly to second, and Maldi strikes out swinging for the 3rd out. So Holmes has a pretty easy top of the 8th, But again, the victory there is they're extending Holmes, which means he's not going to be available for the next day. If there would be a next day, turned out there wouldn't be. Bottom of the eighth, we get another pitching change. We get Rafael Montero coming in to replace Abreu to face the 6, 7, 8 hitters. The broadcast was questioning this move, considering that Abreu only had 8 pitches in the previous inning and looked pretty efficient. I didn't have a problem with this move. Did you have a problem with them lifting Abreu after only 8 pitches and going to Montero?
This was so predictable. This is Dusty, man. He's going to go with his guys in their roles, and Montero, his role is the 8th inning, and he came in and did a beautiful job. So Abreu did his job already. He pitched the 7th. That's what they do.
I thought the same thing. I thought, you know what? This is what's brought you to the dance.
Yeah.
Dusty's been preparing his guys for this role all season. You don't need to ask Abreu to come out and do another inning. He already did his job. He worked through an efficient top of the 7th. You don't need Abreu to come back out and give you any more. Like, that's what all these other arms are for. And so you get Montero gets Donaldson looking on strike 3.
On a strike that he complained about that was
it was
completely in the K zone.
Yeah. Oh, it was clearly a strike, but that was the low strike, right?
It was the low one, but the ball wasn't even touching the border, the bottom border. It was fully in the K zone. Yeah. And with what Astros were dealing with for pitch calls during that game, ridiculous.
It just goes to show you that the Yankees in this series were not seeing the ball well at all. There was a lot of guessing at their ABs, were just a lot of guessing. And this was just another one of those in which Donaldson's complaining, and he's just had a tough time of it in this season anyway.
He's heard some boos.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, he gets called looking on what was clearly a strike, but he wanted to complain. Cabrera flies out to Jordan for the second out. TBS shows, I've got notes here, TBS shows James Click in the skybox.
Ooh, I didn't notice that.
And so they show James Click, and they talk about, they've brought James Click and Dusty Baker in here to kind of pick up the pieces. You could tell they wanted to go down the sign stealing path, and they caught it. They caught it and brought it back. Like, you could just tell that's where they wanted to go. And it's almost like somebody told them, or they get tired of hearing of the complaints, but they caught it and brought it back in. That wouldn't stop Bob Costas from bringing it up on the post-game show. We'll get to that later.
Picking up the pieces, like they were in the World Series last year. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it was so stupid. But obviously, what they meant. Pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
But yeah. So TBS, credit to them. They were going there, and they didn't go there.
The producer's like, no.
So here comes Matt Carpenter pinch hitting for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So this dude has messed you up on defense, and then you can't even trust his bat. You got to go to Matt Carpenter, a guy who's looked pretty bad in this series as well. But when Matt Carpenter looks like the better option than Kiner-Falefa, that kind of tells you what the kind of season that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has had. And Matt Carpenter just, soft grounded Altuve, and that's it. Like it's Montero, 15 pitches, 9 strikes, and that takes you to the 9th. And then all of a sudden, man, the end is near. And so you have Holmes return. Altuve hits a single the other way, and you start going, oh boy, is Altuve coming out of it now?
Pena didn't hit it all that hard, but he just needs some luck, and that's what we're getting at, right? Just anything to fall his way and get him going.
But he's had good at bats. Yeah. Today was he had good at bats, and what he hit was not trying to do too much. It was just serving it the other way and get a single out of it, and so he was able to get it. Pena bunts, and he's throwing out at first. Altuve sees that third's uncovered. So he tries to go first to third on the bunt and gets thrown out at third. What were you thinking on that play?
Another bad base running move by Altuve. He'll do that from time to time. In this case, I saw why he did it. Like, it looked like third base was vacated. So And you know what's funny is if he wouldn't have slid off a third, he might have been safe. You know what I mean? Like it looked like he may have gotten his arm in there, but because he overslid the bag,
Yeah.
you know, it was an easy you're out. So I just didn't like. You got Jordan coming up. Don't get thrown out in that, you know, because Jordan's starting to feel it. You need that extra run, so don't take the bat out of Jordan's hands there.
Yeah. Joe, I'm gonna bring this back up. Joe, I just mentioned Costas' comments. I'll get to them just a second. We're wrapping up
I'm
the
curious.
night
I don't
here.
know what he said. I'm
Yeah, it's what you'd expect. So yeah, so Pena bunting instead of having a runner on second and scoring position with one out, it ends up turning into like a weird double play, which I really hated. I just thought it's like, oh, what a bad time to do that. I guess it doesn't really matter. Jordan ends up grounding out for the third out there, but
yeah. Jordan grounded out it, but it's just, wouldn't it be nice to have Jordan hitting with somebody on second base? You
yeah,
know?
or you'd have theoretically too Bregman another opportunity with a guy in scoring position as well. So that ends the inning. That takes us to the bottom of the ninth, and this was cake. You had Ryan Presley, who for some reason the Yankees media had convinced themselves that they had this guy's number, and
Okay.
like yeah, because one game that he got blown up. One game they blew him up.
One homer
And
to Judge, right? Basically. Yeah.
one, he had one bad inning, and all of a sudden the Yankees just felt like, oh, this is the guy who we own for some reason. And I don't know what it is. I wonder if they still think that after this.
Probably. They're Yankees.
But yeah, Chirino flies out to center. Bader grounds out to first. I mean, that's your big one right there, right? Because you've got Bader ahead of Judge. And so Bader's been their hottest hitter, and he just grounds out to first for the second out. And then Judge, here you are, the MVP versus your closer.
He's got a chance to tie the game.
Yep, with one swing could tie the game. Yep. And that's what he's known for. He's in his home park. He's got the short porch in right. That's where he aims. Instead, weak dribbler back up to Presley to Yuli, and the Astros are back in the World Series.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is. Okay, so Joe had we talked about the Bob Costas comments? No, we hadn't. Let's talk about that now. Bob Costas, after the game was over, said that the Astros doing this proves that they are a good team. They were not reliant upon the trash can scandal, but that everyone's going to have an asterisk on their 2017 championship. If not, there should be a real asterisk on their 2017 championship. And then compared them to the Patriots and said, just like the Patriots getting caught cheating, obviously it's not just the cheating that makes the Patriots good. They're a really good team. So, depending on how you look at those comments, you could be really pissed off that Bob Costas takes another opportunity to bring up sign stealing again on a broadcast. I think it's pretty telling the fact that he was left off the play-by-play broadcast, and as opposed to in the last series where he did it. There was a lot of complaints about Costas calling the Yankee series. But
I thought the broadcasters for this one were awful too.
Awful. Yeah.
I mean, not just for all the Yankee love, which we have to accept that everybody hates us. That's just and embrace it. I mean, that's the way it's going to be because of the way the media framed this whole thing when it went down a few years ago. But just overall, like the commentators so boring too. I mean, that was just, I was missing Joe Buck. They were so bad.
Nicholas, thank you. I know you said you can't stick around, but just hey, appreciate it. Thanks for popping in again. We really do appreciate everybody coming through.
He's got to go shoot face off too.
Yeah, man.
We're all looking forward to that one.
Jay says Pena is the next great superstar shortstop. I'll take it.
You're not going to get any arguments here after what he just did.
Yeah.
I mean,
unbelievable Astros in 6 for the World Series. I hope so.
You're right, Kevin.
Yeah, knocking on wood on that for sure. Yeah. I see some comments about the Astros being a dynasty, and there's going to be a lot of debate on that because here the Astros are in their 4th World Series appearance in 6 years. They've gone to 6 straight ALCSs, which is a record in and of itself. But there's a lot of caveats on that word dynasty, and people view it in different ways. Do you agree that the Astros probably need another ring, especially given the controversy surrounding 2017? Do you agree that they need another ring to solidify this as a dynasty?
I don't really see 2017 as tainted. So for me, that's not why. It's just dynasty. You got to have more than one championship, in my opinion. Just kind of the definition of it. You got to win the whole thing more than once. But you can make arguments. Oh, the Braves, they dominated the AL. That could make them a dynasty. The Astros have dominated the AL. But when you're talking about the true dynasties, they have more than one chip. So I think that's what, to me, it's not the 2017 thing, because I know the Yankees were doing the same garbage. I believe the Dodgers were too. The Red Sox, it was the Wild West back then in 2017. Everybody was doing stuff. So they got to get another one.
Well, we've got a lot of people here right now, so I'm going to invite everybody in here to give their vote. Do you think the Astros are a dynasty, or do you think they have to win another one to be a dynasty? So give us your answers in the comments. We'll feature those comments up on the screen here. Yeah, I'm with you. I think they need another championship. I think that I think the unfortunate thing about the sign stealing thing is that a lot of people have created their own narratives, and they haven't been listening to all of the players that have come forward to talk about the amount of sign stealing that was happening on other teams, and to say that the Astros weren't the only ones doing it. And so I think I think that there's a lot of people that are going to always remember the Astros, as a team that cheated, whether they weren't the only ones or not. But let's get into the questions here. So here we go. We've got a lot of people coming in. Astros got to get another one. Got to get another one. At least one more. One more, and I'm satisfied.
Yep.
Matrix says we need 3.
3.
Okay. That's interesting. Baseball's hard to do that, though. Philip says win another one. Dave says win another one.
Yeah.
Zach says one more, but still a dynasty. Okay. Yeah. Robert says dynasty is 2+. Andrew, win another one. Clint says need another. Trevor says they need another. So that's win one more.
Yep.
Definitely need another, if not 2 more. Hey, I'll take it, Bill. Or Big Kilo, sorry. They are a dynasty for never giving up. There is something to say about the resiliency of this team, and we saw it in this game specifically, which was they just kept falling behind, and you knew that the Astros pitching was good. You wondered what you were going to get out of McCullers, because McCullers is always kind of interesting. Like, what are you going to get out of him? He's a big game pitcher for sure. So you don't expect him to be non-competitive, but sometimes the guy fights himself and fights control. And especially in big moments when he's got a lot of adrenaline going. So you didn't really know what you get out of him. You never know how relievers are going to perform inning to inning, but they just did a great job tonight and were able to come through. And the bats, as they've been all postseason, have just been resilient. And it started with literally game 1 of this postseason against the Mariners with Jordan's comeback walk-off.
They've been riding that wave.
Yeah.
And ever since.
It's just been the theme. They didn't hold a lead in any of the games in that first series past the 6th inning and still won all 3 of them. And then in this series, the name of the game was pitching. 50 strikeouts to Yankees batters, setting a record.
But don't you feel like, of course, the national media narrative is going to be crappy Yankee hitting and not great Astros pitching? I feel like I'm already seeing a lot of that, just talking about all the strikeouts. But what do you expect? The media, they don't want to give Houston any credit. It is what it is. But also, we want Houston. How'd that work out for you? We
Yeah.
want Houston. We want Houston. Okay. 1, 2, 3 Cancun. Your season's over. 4 games. See you later.
And now there's the question of Judge.
Yeah, he might go to the Giants. Who knows?
Yeah, where does he come back? And the Yankees fans, this dude could go anywhere. He could take his act anywhere. He's the MVP, and you're booing him. And it's not like the rest of your team is also tearing it up. No. And you're going to boo this dude? I just feel like some people don't deserve nice things. And the New York fan base in general just doesn't seem to deserve nice things. And this stretch of dominance from the Astros being capped off with, this is the team that they wanted.
Yeah.
Forget what the fans say.
Cashman talking all that mess. Okay, I think he might get fired, by the way.
Yeah, it could. I mean, Boone and Cashman.
Like that looks bad.
There's a good case to fire both of those dudes. Boone and Cashman, both of their heads could be on the chopping block this postseason, or this offseason, I should say. Yeah, and I don't even really know what to say other than this was the matchup that the Yankees wanted. This is what everyone knew. I mean, this just is what it looked like. It looked like this was going to come down to Astros, Yankees, ALCS all over again. And they're becoming less and less competitive. The first matchup was a 7-game series. The Yankees take the lead in New York, and then the Astros come back and win games 6 and 7. And then in 2019, Altuve with a walk-off in the 6th, Astros win in 6 games.
Yeah. In
2022, the Yankees can't win a single game. They get swept. So this is for and you look at this, they call this the baby bomber era of Yankees baseball with this lineup. And this is what they're going to be known for, is losing to the Astros. And when you remember all of the whole jersey pulling antics and stuff like that, insinuating that, the Astros needed some sort of advantage to beat them. What's the excuse now?
The wind. Apparently the wind. I've been hearing a lot about the wind.
Apparently a lot about the wind. And apparently a lot about that would be a home run in Yankee Stadium. Well, you know who said this would be a home run in Yankee Stadium? Chas McCormick, who bounces one off the wall in Game 3 off the top of the wall. And that's just the difference. This team is just built different. A guy like Chas McCormick to come up and have big ABs, and for you not to be able to rely on Altuve and really Yordan in this series.
Till today.
And you haven't gotten anything out of Tucker or the DH spot. The DH spot has just been this, at least you got an RBI for Mancini in Game 3.
You got a walk and a sac fly. That's about the best we've gotten out of the DH spot recently.
You got nothing out of those spots. And which, by the way, that's a concern moving on into the World Series because the Phillies can hit, but the Phillies haven't faced a pitching staff like the Astros. And on the flip side, I think the Phillies, it's an interesting matchup because I don't know that this is the same level of pitching staff the Astros have seen in the AL. The Mariners had a really good pitching staff. The Yankees had a really good pitching staff. And yet the Astros were able they beat Garrett Cole. Javier out-duels Garrett Cole in Yankee Stadium to take a 3-0 lead. Like we're not even lost in all these performances. The fact that Christian Javier goes and out-duels Garrett Cole in Yankee Stadium.
That makes the win even sweeter to me, is watching Cole lose. After he had that D-bag press conference, right before he left after 2019, watching him lose thinking he's going to the Yankees to win all these World Series, and then to watch him keep getting bounced by the Astros, doesn't get any better than that.
No, it doesn't get any better than that. And how do you feel now? So, this is kind of we've got this game digested. What do you think about going up against the Phillies? Bryce Harper's red hot right now. What do you
Yeah,
think about going? I mean, you've got home field advantage for the series.
I like that.
You've got your pitching now lines up where you can have Justin Verlander on full rest going in game one. So you've got it lined up the way you'd want to. You took care of business with Philly finishing off their series
Today,
you needed the Astros to handle business. So that way there wasn't any extra pitching that was needed. You could get some rest for your guys and your pitching lines up perfectly for game one. For them, they have lived a very charmed existence this postseason. But what do you think about their chances against the Phillies?
I like it. I mean, it's the Astros, they got tons of experience, but also it's baseball, so you never know. But, you just gotta they've done it all year, so you just gotta just leap of faith, believe in our guys, believe that they're gonna win. That's all you can do. And because it's baseball, we saw it with the Nationals, that we didn't expect that to go down the way it did. So I think it's going to be a tough series. I think it's going to be a hard fought series. Our great pitching is going to be critical. And God, if we could just get Altuve going, man, like to see him get on base tonight, what a difference it makes when you don't start with your leadoff hitter getting out every time.
It's so true.
Because Pena has to be Superman for you, or Jordan. Like one of those guys has to be, or Bregman. But that's the thing. One of those three guys has been consistently stepping up in those moments. And man, those are some good hitters. But imagine if you add Altuve to that mix. And like we talked about, Tucker hasn't done a whole lot. Yuli's been great. So I'd like to see Vasquez play a little more, if I'm being honest. His defense, that he had that great throw out yesterday, Vasquez, and he had the big hit. Maldonado, he struggled behind the plate today. I'm not saying bench him or anything. I'm just saying maybe give Vasquez a little more time, just a little bit.
Yeah, no, I wondered again why we didn't see when the Astros were down 5-4.
Yeah.
I wondered if maybe we would see Christian Vasquez a pitch hit for Maldonado in that situation. It didn't, and it turned out to not make a difference. But yeah, it's kind of goes to the depth of the Astros, and we've kind of talked about if you're not going to get anything out of your pinch hit spot, then maybe Vasquez needs to play that role for you, or at least maybe David Hensley needs to play that role. You're still not getting anything out of it.
Maybe DH Vasquez, like, kind of like it seems like you're alluding to there. That, Diaz hasn't done much. Mancini was okay. I don't know, Vasquez, and he's been there with those big postseason games with the Red Sox. He's got experience, and when you played him yesterday, he came through for you. So let him DH. At least give him a few opportunities.
Well, guys, it's we have had a great conversation here, and I think all we need to do now is give us your MVP of the night or player of the night. Give us your vote here. We're going to tally that before we get off here. But who is your player of the game for the ALCS Game 4? Give us your votes below, and I'll feature them on the screen, and then we'll see what everybody votes for. Josh, who is your MVP for Game 4?
For me, it's between Breggy or Pena. So kind of Pena is the obvious choice, but I'm going to go with Bregman.
We got a lot of votes at one time here. Let's see. We've got Pena. Jason says, "Good night, fellas. Pena MVP."
Thanks, Jason.
Good night, Jason. Appreciate you. Okay, most favorite New York. That's not what I meant. MVP is Pena.
Overwhelmingly Pena.
Yeah, it's just Pena, the sensational shortstop. Yeah. Pena, 10,000%. Aaron Boone.
There you go, David.
Bregman deserved to be co-MVP. That's for sure. He's had an amazing series as well.
Yeah. And he gave him the lead, right, tonight?
Yeah. Breggy MVP. Yeah, he gave us that the one that ended up sticking there.
Yeah. Trevor's right about that. They did look dead before Pena hit that homer.
Yeah. Well,
with Breggy.
Yeah. That was such a big swing of the bat. And it's something, what's so funny is how ironic it was that the Astros were the ones who were getting those multi-hit home run or those multi-run home runs when that's the Yankees calling card all season is, if you can just get somebody on base and then with one swing of the bat, but the Yankees were just, the Astros bullpen and their rotation just was able to silence the Yankees bats for the majority of the series. And even tonight, when you saw them score, it was the Astros who were able to close the gap with a 3-run home run, just a timely 3-run home run. And we're just getting overwhelming votes for Pena here.
Yep. He was great. Hard to argue with any of those. Yeah. Pena or Bregman.
Yep.
Yep.
The roof for MVP. Broomsticks.
Yep. And I saw Astros social media was already breaking out the broomsticks on the Yankees. Aaron Judge MVP. Yeah, he did not have a great series.
Yeah.
So much fun to watch.
Philip says, I want to just say that Dusty managed the Astros perfect. Yeah, we've been saying that this entire postseason, which is that Dusty is just pulling all the right strings right now for a second postseason in a row. And it's obviously imperative the guys have to perform, but for them to be 7-0 in the postseason and to be headed back to a second straight World Series, I think you have to give mad props to Dusty for a job well done this season. And so we'll see how what goes. Clint says Presley.
Presley's been fantastic.
When Presley's healthy, he's just one of the filthiest pitchers. And like we talked about earlier in the stream, which was it was just so crazy to hear Yankees media and even national media talk about how they looked at Presley like this was the opportunity in the bullpen to exploit. And acting as if the no-hitter didn't happen immediately after Presley blew that game. It happened the very next game. Yeah. The Astros put a no-hitter that was closed out by Presley. So acting like they had some cheat code for Ryan Presley because they caught him on a bad day was really, I just found it entertaining.
I did too. I did notice one of our commenters said Javier to start game 3 of the World Series. I'm kind of cool with that. Like to me, Javier looks a little more dominant to me now than McCullers does. I know that's crazy to say, and it's just a few appearances. McCullers is still kind of working his way back, but I mean, Javier, man, I don't know. He looks great.
I don't think that it makes a difference one way or the other. I'm cool with either one of those guys, and I think that speaks to the depth of this pitching rotation for the Astros that they're able to go to a guy who, I mean, McCullers was essentially their ace last season.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He had a great year,
and he goes down in the ALDS and can't pitch for them anymore. misses a substantial amount of time at the beginning of this season. You and I wondered whether we'd even see Lance McCullers back up pitching this season. We wondered whether there was going to be surgery that was necessary. He makes an amazing comeback story. But as dominant as he was last year, he pitches number 4 for you in the ALCS and helps you sweep the New York Yankees, which there's just nothing sweeter than that.
No. The thing that Javier and McCullers kind of have in common, they're not guys like Verlander and Fromber where you're expecting to get 7 or 8 innings out of them, so they're guys that are going to give you 5 or 6 at best because they throw a lot of pitches. So I guess they are kind of similar.
David says, "Night, y'all. Go Astros." Yeah, go Astros for sure. Hey guys and ladies, appreciate you spending this evening with us. We know it's late. It is late. We've crossed over into the Monday hour, but we really do appreciate doing all these. We've done 7 straight broadcasts in a row because the Astros continue to not lose. And so we're going to continue to do these following wins. So we hope to continue to see you, I guess, Wednesday, right? Like that's when we
right.
hope to see you again. Thank you so much for logging on and talking with us this evening. Josh, appreciate you joining me as well.
Yep.
And as always, go Astros.